Hi everyone, welcome to my review of the Inbetweeners, Series 1. Now, this began in 2008 and created by Damon Beesley and Iain Morris. And basically, it's very, very famous, of course. Most people have heard of the Inbetweeners. There's been 2 films now, of course, as well, which I'll say now, are nowhere near as good as any of the seasons of the show. And, I think this is just one of the best British works, for quite a few decades, just in general, really. This whole show as an overall, piece. I think, I've seen most of the episodes multiple times, and I absolutely love this show. And yes, I think it's actually better than actually critics, especially, would make out. I think it's just great. Of course, this is season 1, series 1, and I'll be reviewing this, then season 2, and then the third one, the final one, and then of course I'll be doing the first Inbetweeners film and the second, reviewing them as well. So yes, this show, this season is basically 6 episodes, of course, like the rest of them. And I originally kind of got into this shortly after it came out, and I remember watching series 3 as it kind of was on TV, and just a great experience, great time, and just very, very relatable stuff, and just so well written, and very, very kind of true to life. Great humour. Performances are great as well. Of course, you've got the character of Will, who's basically the protagonist, really, you could say. Certainly in season 1. Basically, he's come from a private school, posh kind of family, and his mum and dad are split up though, and basically gets put into this comprehensive school. Sixth form he's in. And basically, it's about him kind of, it's a comedy, of course, but it's about him kind of trying to fit in. And, the first episode, which is called Will's First Day, is basically him meeting these other three characters, and basically forming a friendship with them. Although, of course, not, instantly, but over the course of the episode, he basically forms a friendship with them. And it's basically, that's the Inbetweeners, that is the characters, the 4 main characters of Will, played by Simon Bird, Simon, who's played by Joe Thomas, then you've got Jay, who's played by James Buckley, and then finally you've got Blake Harrison, who plays Neil, the kind of the one who's not quite there, but basically I think this is an absolutely brilliant show, and the first season, yes, it may be the worst for me personally, but it's still absolutely great TV. I think it's just so good. These characters, first of all, just so great in the way they're written. I think Joe Thomas is not as good as he was in he was in season 2 and 3, but the performance is still really good. I think he's the worst of all of them, but it's still really good. And the way these characters are written is just so good. Very, very subtle at times, and just, as I say, very, very true to life. This is just really, it's realistic, of course, to kind of what people are like, and they're not unlikable characters, though, they're not, a lot of this, really looking back on it now as well, as watching this, I've not seen it for a few years, and, just, when I was kind of watching it, I was thinking, wow, this might actually be done really quite poorly. This could be done with a partying, and kind of stuff like that, and stuff that I could maybe not like too much at all, on paper, actually. If it was done by someone else, if it didn't have the sincerity and the way that the writing and everything, it's just so strong, and it's just so sincere, and really, really warm show, and it's just so well, the tone of the show is just so great, it just becomes not a film, of course, a TV show that is among my favourites, actually. And it's just the way that the writing is, handled. The characters' performances are all really, really good, actually, overall. Especially James Buckley and Simon Bird. The character of Jay is just one of my favourite TV characters, actually, full stop. And just Will as well, of course. Great character. Just love the comedy in this show, and I love, when it goes more serious, and there is drama there, of course, and actually very, very touching stuff. It deals with a lot of themes, kind of complex themes, but it kind of, because of the way that the comedy is handled, and kind of blended in there with the drama. It seems like it's done with ease, and it's really just underneath. The kind of when you actually think about it and you really watch the show and everything, it is really really moving at times. Actually, really quite quite powerful at times. I just think it's done in just subtle ways. As well, the comedy is just hilarious. Every single episode is at least very good. In fact, they're all great apart from episode 4 for me, and that's mainly when Will focuses on he meets this girl called Charlotte, and basically it's basically him getting with her, and there's kind of sex scenes, and I think well still handled with care overall the episode, and it has got some really funny moments, and the characters are still there. There is some development, definitely, and it it's awkward situations again. I think there is a couple of flaws in that one. Just the way with with Will and Charlotte together. It's not handled as well as it should have been, and it isn't that funny at times. Like the kind of way it plays out, and not a great performance from the the actress that plays Charlotte. But yes, that's the only one really that isn't great. I think the rest of them are, and very very underrated overall. I think it just kind of creeps up on you. The quality of this show, thoroughly enjoyable. But when you actually, it's really really well crafted. And I have some little nitpicks, in the cinematography, direction and stuff, the editing throughout the season. And the flaws I have with that is mainly just the slight push-ins that it sometimes does. It works sometimes, other times it's a bit off-putting and just doesn't really add anything. But it's not bad at all. Generally, I think each episode is shot really well, and just has a really nice flow to all the episodes, and the way that they unfold. I think the character development is really really just great in pretty much every episode, and just the way that the kind of the journey these characters go through very very short episodes, and it's only 6 of them. It's kind of around 25 minutes for each episode, and it's just great how the transformation of the characters, the character development through the exposition, and the performances. The chemistry between all the kind of actors in this show in the season, so good. Really just quite flawless in terms of the chemistry and the way the dynamics of the group play off. In that sense. As well, you got Davies, who plays Mr. Gilbert, who's the head of sixth form, and he is one of the most memorable characters in TV as well. I think as well, Will's mum is great, and all the parents really of the of the characters are great and memorable. Neil's dad, they all stand out so much. They're just so iconic, and performances are all great, and especially when you're introduced properly to Jay's parents in episode 5. Jay's dad is just hilarious in this season, and that's in the Caravan Club episode. And yes, I just think all the side characters really are great, apart from maybe Charlotte and one or two other ones here and there, but it doesn't really affect my overall rating of the season too much, apart from the Charlotte stuff in that episode 4. And there is a couple of things here and there throughout the season where the camera work isn't always masterful or anything. It's not great overall. Consistently throughout every episode. There is a couple of flaws here and there, but really not much that can really take away too much from the overall experience and my enjoyment. Because the writing is so good, and the blend of comedy and drama and kind of portraying kind of secondary school kind of life, it's so good. It's still an absolutely brilliant season, a great start to this show, and it's of course only 3 seasons, and then you've got the films, but it's just this whole season as a collective work, as an overall piece, it's just something that's really underrated, and something that, it's so great, I think, and really connected to everything, and it was handled, all the stuff that could have been quite annoying and maybe of poor taste, all the jokes, of course, a lot of them are rude jokes and everything, and that could have been done, jokes about sex and everything, it could have been done in a poor taste way, but really it's always about the characters, and it's always got meaning behind it, and it's developing them, and it's kind of humanity behind it all, and the way that a lot of this stuff is actually not all that important. That's the kind of messages it brings. Kind of, you could say, like American Pie at times does. And yes, actually, it kind of reminds me a lot of, of that at times, but British version, you could say at times. But I think, as I've said, one of the best British, works, certainly of the century, and I absolutely love this show, and a great season to begin with. Loved it all really, apart from, episode 4. Did have some problems there, but overall, I think it's just so great in terms of the characters and everything, as I've said. So entertaining, and something I really, really just connected with and cared with overall. So overall, I think this season of The Inbetweeners is truly great. As I've said, I love everything about it really. It's just really some flaws, mainly in episode 4. But overall as a season, this really is great. It's not quite a masterpiece, I will say that, and a couple of other flaws, just some little things here and there, and some of the cinematography and everything, the way it's directed. But really, for what it is remarkable at times. It really is great, and something I love. Now, I'd have to give it a 97%. Actually, I think I loved pretty much all of the season, and I've watched all the episodes multiple times, and I just think really they're all great apart from episode 4, which is still very, very good, and it has some flaws here and there, but overall, as a debut season to this show, it's just it's great. It's remarkable, really. And it's the writing is really, and the performances is what really stands out amongst most TV shows, actually. And I really just cared for all these characters, and the kind of arc that happens, and the progression of all these characters over the season. It's just something highly impressive, and just great, great stuff. So overall, if you want to know my ranking of the episodes, here they are, from worst to best of this season. Begins with the worst episode of the season is Will Gets a Girlfriend, episode 4. Now this is the one that, as I said, had some flaws with. Overall, just some of the stuff with Charlotte could have been done better. Performance wasn't great from her, and it just wasn't quite the warm kind of feel that the rest of the the episode has, and the rest of the season really. It is more just about issues of sex, and not always done in a great way. But overall, a very, very good episode. But the rest of the episodes are great, and easily my least favourite of the series. Just still very good though. Next up is First Day. Now this is the first episode of the show, and it's just not quite as enjoyable as the rest, ones above this, purely because Will is not really, really friends with them at first in this episode. But on its own, I think it's great. I think the way, the transformation from the start of the episode to the end of it, it covers quite a lot of ground, really. It's quite stunning, over 25 minutes or so, and great comedy, awkward situations that are, perfectly really portrayed, and the performance by, of course, Simon Bird really is the standout here. Just the way you're introduced to this kind of this world of the Inbetweeners, and these characters. Great introductions to all the characters, especially Jay. James Buckley is great as always, and yes, although not quite as good as the rest of them, still great. Now next up would be Bunk Off, and most people say that this is probably the best of the season, if not top 2. I say it's great, another great episode. Absolutely love it. The way that Simon, is basically trying to pretend he's his mother to Mr. Gilbert, is one of the standouts really of the season. It's hilarious, and just the way what they get up to really, it is just really just so well written. And yes, there's alcohol jokes and everything, but they're not really handled in poor taste, and it's just, again, great character building, great situations they're put in, and very, very funny stuff. Now next up would have to be episode 6, Xmas Party. And this is the Christmas party. This is the one that really it has some of the moments where really it just comes together really well, and you've just got quite a lot of touching moments actually, and it's just very very heartfelt, and the way it ends, them kind of all together, it's just kind of, you look back on the rest of the season, how far they've come, and again, very very short episodes, but it covers a lot of ground, and yeah, it's very very touching, and some great sequences here. Mark Donovan, of course, really is a really good character of the show, and what happens with him is wrapped up really really well, and you've just got some really human moments, as well as just the way that Will organises the Christmas party. It's just great TV, and just the way it builds, and then the way it climaxes, just wonderfully, and it wraps up the season very very nicely, and very very heartfelt, and also great comedy throughout. No flaws here at all really, in this episode. Now the top two, quickly we'll talk about. Most people would say that Fort Park is probably the best episode, but I say episode 3, Fort Park, is the second best episode of the season, and I think it's stunning. I think it's one of the best episodes of the show. So many great moments here. The roller coaster bit, of course, is a standout, and I think actually the best parts are the journey to get to Fort Park. It's just so good. The banter between them, the kind of friction, and James Buckley was great here, especially just the way that Jay is kind of having a go, at Simon when he's driving, and the way they get kind of caught up in the traffic and everything. It's just great, and of course the ending to the episode is just one of the most iconic. So number 2, and finally we have episode 5, the Caravan Club. Now this is my favourite, and it's purely because, well, everything really the season brought is all at its best here. I think this is probably the episode that can mostly be called a masterpiece of comedy, and just everything works perfectly here. It's got no flaws for me. I think all the characters are just the development over the episode. You finally really find out that Jay is a bullshitter, and just the way it unfolds there, and the kind of situations that Simon's put in, especially, it's just classic really. All the characters really are at their best in this episode, you could say, and Will, Simon, Neil, and Jay all have things that happen to them in the episode that is all so memorable. I think what happens with Neil and the kind of twist it plays with what happens with Will in the episode is great as well, and the locations, the kind of nostalgic and kind of peaceful nature of this caravan club kind of thing. The way that you meet Jay's parents, it's just unforgettable. Jay's dad is so great, hilarious. What happens there with the kind of the irritable bowel stuff, it's just hilarious stuff, and I just think as well, just where when another hilarious moment was when Will got his shoes back, or the one shoe, from them kids. It's just hilarious, and I just think it's everything that is great about this season is rolled into this episode. If I had to choose one episode that I enjoyed the most, it really is the one that is all round the best episode, the one that it's just the most funny. It's got the best character reveals overall of the season, and it's the one that's really peaceful and warm, and the most human. It's this one, Caravan Club. So that's my pick for the best. So there we go. We'll wrap up. It has some flaws this season. As well, I didn't mention a couple of moments here and there. Don't take away too much, but explain in the comments if you really know what the scene in the bunk off with where Will goes into the shop to buy alcohol, and then the shopkeeper. It's a real change of tone. I never understood it. Basically, when he's nice to him at first, and he just says, "You can have so and so if you get out of the shop in something so and so," and it's a real weird kind of change of tone, and then he goes back to being nice. So I don't get that scene, but there's a couple bits here and there, and just some of the cinematography, and just overall, that episode 4 is not quite as great and mind blowing as the rest of them in terms of comedy. And I just think overall though, 97%, extremely high for me. Great television, and absolutely love this show, and a great start to this show from this series. So there we have it. My review of the Inbetweeners Series 1, and will for sure be because I'm rewatching them at the moment, kind of, and be reviewing the other two as well. And then, of course, eventually, get around to the films, which I'll say now are nowhere near as good as for me as this series, any of the seasons of the show. But are they bad? Find out. Find out what I think of them. And I'll, at the end, I'll be probably ranking all of the seasons and the actual films all in one video, and then as well all of the episodes combined, the ranking of them. So look forward to that, and maybe do some discussions on the actual characters and ranking the characters. So there we have it. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching my review of The Inbetweeners Series 1.